That's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm in a different
Ah,
location. Why don't you see me? Why don't I see me? Oh, I think it found me. Hey.
oh, there you are. Hi.
Greetings. Shalom, everyone. I'm in a
Thank you,
different. I'm in a
Shalom,
different.
shalom.
I'm in a different location, so it takes me a little longer to figure this out. Can you hear me clearly, everyone?
Yes, yes.
Excellent. All right, wonderful. Uh, Greetings, shalom. Um, First of all, I was surprised it was so quiet. You guys used to be chatting up a whole storm before I get on here. I'm used to hearing all your discussions, and it was just very quiet. So I hope everything is okay and we're all in good terms.
Well, Steve is not here. Where is Steve?
Oh, where is
Steve
Steve?
is Margate concert. Oh, okay.
Okay. All right.
He's usually our MC.
Yeah, that's what it is. Steve's the
Right.
MC. He's schmoozing
Yeah, that's right.
everyone. Yeah, he's keeping the conversations fun. That's funny. That's great. Okay, good. So I hope everyone. We had a little break. Where was it? Where was I last week? I'm trying to remember. What was last week? Wednesday. I don't know.
You were not here, Rabbi.
Yeah, I don't remember where I was. And next week, I don't know if I'm going to be in town. We're going to keep possibilities. We'll see. But right now we're here, and
Okay.
welcome aboard. So today we're going to talk about the Torah portion of Vayechi. Vayechi is the last Torah portion where we speak about Jacob's life.
Gracious.
Yeah, the last Torah portion in the book of Bereshis. And what's going to happen is when we finish reading this, we're going to chant Chazak, Chazak. May we be strengthened by the study of Torah, and we will have finished the first of 5 books of the Torah. So, those of you who are joining our classes every week, you could make a big check off your list that you have experienced Torah study for the first of the 5 books of Moses. But I want to say hello to those that are logging on now, those that are watching. Where are you watching from? Thanks for joining us. Always want to hear from our followers. We are now on Zoom. We are on TikTok, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube, all live at the same time. And it'll be amazing to know who's watching and where you're watching from, because we have people from the most interesting places in the world, on different time zones and different continents. So let's see what some of the comments say. Someone just wrote New Orleans. Someone, Orion, says is from New Orleans. Someone's from Ohio. Where else we got people here from? Uh, hmm. People, where are you from? Chaim Yuri's from Florida, Miami Beach, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. All right, we're keeping it pretty local. Sometimes we get people from Australia and Zimbabwe and who knows where. So um, say hello to Maura Ruth. Hello, Maura Ruth. Brooklyn, New York. Never heard of that. Arlington, Virginia. Oh, we have people from all over the place. Welcome aboard. Hello. All right, what I have to do is before we get lost, Morocco. Oh, wow. Well, before we get lost in all different kind of topics that are going to pop up in my very organized mind, I'd like to give you a quick overview of this week's Torah portion. Let's start with that, and this way we all know where to start. Okay, so it's called Vayechi, and it means "and he lived," but actually it talks about the death of Jacob and Joseph in the Torah. So the Torah portion tells us that Jacob lived the final 17 years of his life in Egypt before he passes away. He asks Joseph to take an oath that he will bury him in the Holy Land. He blesses Joseph's 2 sons, Menashe and Ephraim, elevating them to the status of his own sons and leaders of tribes within the Jewish people. So Jacob's 12 sons were tribes, And Joseph, instead of being one tribe, was considered two tribes because both of his sons were elevated, which technically brings us to 13 tribes. But when we came to Israel, the land was only divided 12 ways because the tribe of Levi was in a different category and they didn't have land. They were like the Kohanim, they were the priests. All right. So let's go on. Jacob blesses all his sons, and some of them he gives some criticism to in his final days. He tells this tribe of Levi that the scholars will come from him, the seafarers will come from Zebulun, the school teachers will come from Simon, the soldiers will come from Gad, the judges will come from Dan, the olive growers will come from Asher, and so on and so forth. Reuven is rebuked for confusing his father's marriage bed, if you remember that story. Shimon and Levi are criticized for the massacre of Shechem and the plot against Joseph. Naphtali is granted swiftness of a deer, and Benjamin is as ferocious as a wolf, and Joseph is blessed with the beauty and fertility, and so many beautiful pieces of art are made from this week's Torah portion as Jacob poetically creates these beautiful images of who each one of his children will be and who their descendants will be. Someone just asked me, Rabbi, can we celebrate New Year? That's a great question. Stick around. Maybe I'll answer this at the end because right now I'm still talking about the Torah portion. All right, but that's a great question. Tonight's is New Year's. We wish everyone a happy Goyish New Year. I remember last year it fell out on Friday, so I told everyone make sure to drop a giant matzo ball into your soup on Friday night and call it a New Year. We Jewish people celebrated Rosh Hashanah, of course, the Jewish New Year back in September, I believe. But what about the secular New Year? Should a Jewish, observant, religious Jewish person recognize it? Some of you are thinking, well, what kind of question is that? Of course you should. Well, it's not so simple. Maybe I'll address it and give you the answer soon. Thank you for the gift, Jamie. Beautiful. All right. So then there's this large funeral that takes place and big procession. Jacob's descendants bury Jacob. Pharaoh's ministers and leading citizens of Egypt and the Egyptian cavalry accompany Jacob on his final journey all the way to the Holy Land, where he's buried in the cave of Machpelah in Hebron. If you have ever been to Hebron and you prayed in the cave of Machpelah, please let us know because that's quite the spiritual experience. In fact, today there's two sides of the Machpelah. There's the Arab side and the Jewish side. Of course, both our people have a connection to Abraham. We both come from Abraham. We are cousins. Chaim Yuri says he was at the cave of Machpelah. Very nice. All right. Very good. So, can you visualize this? Here you have Jacob passes away, and the leaders of Egypt take this tremendous journey all the way to Israel. In those days, it was, not just a car ride or a helicopter ride. They do this great funeral procession to lead Jacob all the way to Israel, and they bury him there. Obviously, there's a lot of respect, and that changes quickly because in the next week's Torah portion, we'll talk about the enslavement of the Jewish people in Egypt. And this is right after this great funeral.
Rabbi.
Yes.
You forgot the part that Esau's head came rolling into Jacob's grave.
Oh, yes. Very good. Leave it to you, Yisrael, to keep us on all the details. Yes, that is a medrash that discusses that. It's pretty wild. Yes, what happens is Esav, when he finds out Jacob is being buried in the Machpelah, he's like, whoa, I'm the oldest. Remember, he never gave that up. He's like, I'm the oldest. That's my spot. There's only one spot left, and that's for me. And I think it was Dun's son, one of Naphtali's
Right.
son. Was it Dun or Naphtali? Who doesn't understand because he was deaf. So he takes out his sword and he makes Esav one head shorter. And the Medrash says that his head rolled into the cave of Machpelah and landed on his father Isaac's, uh, I guess, casket, which is very symbolic. And there's a lot over there. Okay.
That's why Rivka said when Jacob ran away, she said, "Love you," and she did.
I'm from Brick and I am a Christian looking to learn about Judaism so I could defend it from rumors. I really appreciate you saying that. There's a lot of bad rumors and lies on the internet and these echo chambers of hate. And you can follow my channel. You could ask me questions. I'm happy to answer that. And also, I encourage you to go to my other channel called Humans for Noah, where I teach Torah to humanity every single day as well. I'm going to post that in the link so you could see that. All right. So let's continue on. So that's the Parsha in a nutshell, as we say. Joseph also dies in Egypt at the age of 110. He too instructs that his bones be taken out of Egypt and buried in the Holy Land, but this would come to pass only when the Israelites' exodus from Egypt took place many years later. Joseph conveys to the children of Israel the testament from which they drew their hope and faith in the difficult years. God will surely remember you and bring you up from this land to the land which he swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So Joseph was already, before he passes away, telling the Jewish people, you're going to go through some really tough times right now. That's the prophecy that was given to Abraham. That's not the end. It's going to become better. Someone wants to find the Noahide link. Yeah, it's humans, the number 4, Noah. Humans for Noah. You could find it on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all the channels. Humans for Noah. It's also on YouTube as well. And those classes are Monday nights at 7 o'clock. All right, so that's the Torah portion in a nutshell. Now that we did our overview, we can get into a little more detail. So it says, the Torah says, and Jacob land for 17 years, Israel, for 17 years before he passed away. I'm sorry, in the land of Egypt, 17 years before he passed away. It's odd that the Torah portion that speaks about his death speaks about him living. And so there's a little bit of commentary here that I'm going to talk about soon. But first of all, the sages say that the last 17 years of Jacob's life, by the way, whoever typed it has to write Noah, Noah with an H at the end. Humans for Noah. The last 17 years of Jacob's life were the best years of his life. And Rashi and the Rebbe, and Lishner Zalman of Liadi asked, how's it possible someone as holy as Jacob could say his best years were in a place so low like Egypt? And the Rebbe answers that before Jacob went to Egypt, he sent Judah ahead of him to show the way to Goshen. That's what the Torah says. What does it mean to show the way? The Medrash explains this was to establish a house of Torah study. So Egypt in Goshen became a thriving, bustling place of Jewish life where one could study Torah. I'm sure there was a kosher pizza shop and a sushi and shawarma on every corner in Goshen. They made for themselves a very good life. Yet it is interesting. So spiritually, physically he was in Egypt, but spiritually they were taken care of. But what's interesting is that when he feels that he's dying, he makes his children swear to him. He says, swear to me that you won't bury me here. Ultimately, Jacob says, I feel comfortable here. I have allegiance to this country. I feel blessed. I thank Pharaoh for all the opportunity here. But at the end of the day, I am connected to my homeland, to the land of Israel. God gave the land of Israel to the Jewish people. I'm going to take a minute to post to block someone who's writing some annoying things on the feed here, which is the natural thing I have to deal with, unfortunately, in this world. Somebody literally posted the same, um, uh, you know, words over and over, probably 30 times. So some people have so much hatred that they can literally stop their day and just spend time spamming Jewish accounts. It's it's um, it's horrible. It's really hard. It's sad. Anyway, yeah, it is sad. Want me? Hi, Chaim. You want to be the moderator? I don't even know how to make you a moderator. Let me see. All right, add moderator. Hold on. Add moderator. All right. All right, Chaim, you're the new moderator. Congratulations. Isn't that interesting? You could appoint someone to be a moderator and they could like control the account so that people don't. Uh, yeah. Oh, that's so
Me?
empowering. What? No, no, not Chaya,
Me?
Chaim. No, Chaya.
Chaim.
Yeah,
Oh,
Chaim.
oh, Chaim.
Yeah,
Okay.
Chaya, are on the Zoom, we don't need a moderator because everyone behave themselves. But if you want to be the moderator and you want to shut
Oh,
people
no.
up, that's fine.
Oh,
But I
no.
haven't heard
Oh, no, no,
anything that
no.
was problematic ever on the Zoom. We never had to block someone ever.
No.
Aside for sometimes people leave their mic on and they turn on the radio in the background. But anyway, I see. All right. So anyway, let's move along. Um, so you see, on one hand, Jacob has such a good life. The best 17 years of his life is in Egypt, and it's like you have to think about it. Jacob's has a very hard life as a kid. He's running away from Esau. He builds this family. His wife dies when he's young. He has to deal with Laban, and then his wife dies young, and then suddenly there's a sense of normalcy, and his favorite son Joseph goes missing. I mean, there was a lot of pain. Now his family's together. No one's fighting. They're all living well. It's the best 17 years of his life. He really got to enjoy nachas, appreciate his blessings. It's such a powerful image. At the end of the day, what do we want? We want nachas from our kids. We want health. We want just things to go okay. And after all this turmoil, Yaakov really could enjoy it in a place of that was set up for him by his son Yosef. It's very interesting to me, and it's called Vayichi Yaakov lived. So there's this interesting commentary the commentaries had about Yaakov. It says, okay, it says Yaakov lo mace. What do they say? Two things are guaranteed: death and taxes, not necessarily in that order. Did you ever hear that expression? But there's a saying amongst the Jewish sages that Yaakov lo mes, Jacob never died. What's that supposed to mean? Jacob never died. Like he did die. We read in the Torah, there's a funeral. What does it mean that Yaakov didn't die? And so the commentaries answer that what it means is Yaakov's children were alive, and when someone's children are alive, it's as if they're alive, as if they never passed away. Why? Because if the children perpetuate the values, the teachings of the parent, then the parent's soul and purpose lives on. And so Yaakov's children continued the legacy of Jacob, and so the Torah says that Yaakov never passed away. Um, I forget the source of it, but there's a beautiful Israeli poem about someone talking about his mother's challah dough. And maybe if someone knows it, you could post it. But it's very nice. And at the end, it basically describes his mother would knead the challah, and as she kneaded the dough, she'd pray. And as she prayed, tears would come into her eyes, and they'd go into the challah dough. And when when he would eat the dough, he was eating his mother's prayers. He was eating his mother's tears. It's a very colorful poem. I'm not sure if the health department will like that. The tears going, but it's trying to say, like, I think the poet is trying to say, like, I believe and I have faith because all my years I ate my mother's challah. I ate my mother's tears. I ate her prayers. I absorbed it. It went inside of me. It became who I am. Now, someone knows what I'm talking about, and you'll post who the author is on this poem. But that's not important as important as the message. And the message really is that at the end of the day, people don't die. People are absorbed into the hearts and into the minds of the people they inspire. And so the Torah says, Yaakov lo meis. Yaakov doesn't die. Why? There was a funeral. Of course he died. No, because his children continued his legacy. They embodied, they lived, and they passed on who Yaakov was, who Isaac was, who Abraham was to their children. And because they walked around, they consumed, they ate the tears, they ate the challah of their ancestors. Yaakov never died. Someone just wrote, I'm leaving. This year is for Noachides. Bye. That's strange. There's a lot of great rabbis on the internet that are teaching Torah. If I'm not your flavor, that's fine. There was Beis Shammai, there was Beit Hillel. Not that I'm comparing myself to either of them, but there are different paths to God. Which brings me to an interesting idea that a lot of people don't know. How do you say a cemetery in the Hebrew language? So there are, strange fact, there are 3 ways to say a cemetery in the Jewish language. Beis hakfaros, a house of the living, and Beis ha'olam, a house of eternity. Now, why would Judaism have 3 ways to say a cemetery? In English, you just say a cemetery, and that's it. What do you need 3 ways? And we're definitely not obsessed with death. We're obsessed with life. So why would we have 3 ways to describe it? Anyway, why would we need 3? So the answer is that there's 3 ways to look at a cemetery. When someone passes away, you could call it a Beis HaKfaros, a house of burial. Why? Because that's what it is. God forbid, after 120, we take a person and we return them to the earth, and their soul returns to God. But it's also a Beis ha'olam. It's a place of eternity. Why? We believe that the soul doesn't disappear. The soul lives forever, and the soul goes back to God forever. That's why in the Jewish tradition, we don't put flowers on a grave, but we put a stone on the grave. Why do Jewish people put a stone on the grave? Why not flowers? So the answer is flowers are very temporary. Here today, gone tomorrow. As beautiful as they are, they're temporary. The body is like flowers. There's a certain amount of time we're here in this world, but we don't last forever. A stone is symbolic of something that lasts forever. Look around the castles from 1,000 years ago; they're still here today. Now, of course, nothing's really forever, but at least in imagery, the best thing we could show is a stone. We put a stone on the grave to declare, to show that we believe that the soul lives on, that this is not the end. So we put something that's more eternal. So a cemetery is called a Beis HaOlam, a place of eternity, a house of eternity. Why? Because we declare that the cemetery is a place where the souls of our loved ones lives on forever. And then, of course, you have a Beis HaChaim, a house of living, which is the honest way to name a cemetery. Why is it a house of the living? Who's living in a cemetery? Aside for some people on Route 9 in the Beth Israel Cemetery a few weeks ago, we found out they broke into some of those little houses over there, and some homeless people were living there, and they brought trash, and we had a whole group go and clean it up. But that's not how it's supposed to be. So why would it be called the house of the living? The sages answer beautifully, based on what we just said, that the truth is, a person who lives properly lives forever. If there are people in this world that perpetuate their light, their values, their love, Beis HaChaim, it's a place of life. Yaakov lo meis, the Torah says that Yaakov didn't die. He didn't die because we are here today. Because anyone who lives inspired by the messages of Torah and Judaism is perpetuating the values and the teachings of our forefather, Yaakov, and our mothers and all those who came before us. So my TikTok Rebbe, I'm Catholic, and this year I proudly displayed a menorah in my bay window. Wow, that is so beautiful. I think that's so beautiful because with so much anti-Semitism and so many Jewish people questioning whether they should display their menorahs or their mezuzahs or their Jewish pride, and you have a Catholic person who put a menorah up to show support and to show that they support the light of Judaism and the Jewish brothers and sisters. I think that is beautiful. Thank you for that. All right. And then, of course, we have the regular question. What do you think about the Talmud? You could ask me that privately. I just don't have time to cover it, but I've covered it many, many times. The Talmud is the most brilliant work that probably exists in the world. It's written over 500 years. It quotes over 800 sages. No topic is left undiscussed. The Talmud is a brilliant work. Okay, and all those things you read that the Talmud says, most of them are not true, and the ones that are true, the Talmud has a lot of wild opinions. You don't have to get so offended. There's nothing wrong with allowing people to have opinions, even though it's not necessarily the opinions of Judaism. Back. Who's the first person in history? Who's the first person in history to get ill, according to the Bible, the Torah? The answer is Yaakov, Jacob. It says before Jacob passed away, he was ill, and the family came around him, and that's when he blessed his children. So the commentaries say something absolutely wild. The commentaries tell us that before this, people wouldn't get ill before they died. They'd simply, their clock would run out, and they might have been in the middle of the conversation, they might have been eating lunch, they might have been sleeping. All of a sudden, their soul returned to God, and that was it. And people were like, oh, what? Oh, I guess time was up. All right. Terrible. Today, there's a phenomena many times, not always, when a person gets older and they become ill and they become frail, and it's sort of like a sign it's coming to an end. And then a doctor says, I think we have 1 year, I think we have 2 weeks, I think we have 10 days, right? Of course, only God knows. But this phenomenon, according to their sages, existed for the first time with Jacob. Before Jacob knew ill, why? Because Jacob prayed to God, saying, Hashem, if a man doesn't die without some kind of sign, some kind of illness, how does one settle their fears with their children or with their family? So God said, okay, it'll start with you. And Jacob was the first one to become ill. And he's feeling very weak, and he feels there's a sign. So he calls his children and he blesses each one of them, and then he peacefully passes on from his work. Many times when you talk to a family who had the time to say goodbye versus a family who didn't have the gift to be able to say goodbye, it's a completely different experience. When a family is able to really say goodbye and know that everything was said and everything was heard, of course, death is something we can't imagine and it's horrible, but there's a different experience. Then, God forbid, all of a sudden, with no warning, somebody passes away. And there's so much Jacob was the first to give us the idea that we have a sign that the end is coming. By the way, the commentary then goes on to tell us that Abraham was the one who requested old age. So who was the first person in the Bible to get old? Who's the first person who's the first person to get old? And Abraham, by life it'll be with you. And he was old. He started to look old. Here, Isaac is the first one that had affliction in his life. People suffer in this world